Hey guys, Lee from Overbite Gaming here, and today I want to do another talkie video because I like talking and I feel I'm relatively good at talking, or at least my teachers did in school, so we'll go with that. There's three topics I want to cover today. The first one being the latest developments in Naughty Dog, because yeah, there's always latest developments at Naughty Dog at the moment. The second one is actually an argument I've just been having with one of my buddies over text, and I want to get your guys' opinions on it, so that'll be interesting. And the third one is just basically I want to do a sort of verbal love letter to one of my favourite games. So, let's get into it. So item number 1 on the list, Naughty Dog. Okay, Naughty Dog, I'm going to preface this actually, because my dad has now finished The Last of Us Part 2, and he says it's the best game he's ever played. Now, this is a man who enjoys the Antiques Roadshow, Lovejoy, that sort of thing, so you can base his tastes on what you will. He also does like horror movies and stuff like that, so I can't completely throw him under the bus. He did offer to lend me it. I said, no thanks, I'm not really interested in playing it, which is, you know, half the course for me. But let's have a look at what's happening on Naughty Dog's end out in the wider world. Japan, for instance. We've seen pictures of stores where it's basically buy 3 games and you can have a copy of The Last of Us 2 for free. Or there's big piles just like stacked up against the wall. Not even like stood up stacked, but laid down stacked, so there's a lot of copies there. I think a lot of the sales data we're getting are the ones that have shipped, so the ones that have gone to retailers, for instance. And from the evidence of that in Japan, certainly, they're not selling that well. Which is, you know, I mean, I'm not buying it, I've repeatedly said that. I'm certainly not buying it because of the actions of the company rather than the content of the game. I mean, I haven't played the game, I don't intend to play the game. It could be great, I don't know. I mean, if I had to like judge it off of what I've seen, I would probably give it a 6. But I'm in no position to be an authority on it, so it's unfair for me to review it, so I won't do that. Even though I kind of just did. Because I'm contrarian, boy. So not only do we have that, but we've also had this debacle on Twitter. Now, I will say I don't approve of anyone sending threats to anybody over social networking. I think it's done far too often, and to be fair, I think it's done so often it's kind of lost its impact. But even then, you shouldn't really do it. Now, there's been 2 instances of this. One sent to, a series of them sent to Laura Bailey, who is the voice actress that plays Abby in the game. And she is relatively undeserving of it. If you want to take the poke the bear analogy, she kind of tickled the bear's nose when she accused a lot of the negative reviews that the game was getting to be bots. So she kind of tickled the bear's nose, and even approaching the bear, let alone touching the damn thing on Twitter, is enough to get you all sorts of hate. But again, I don't agree with any of the death threats and shit she's been getting. She doesn't deserve it. She came in, did her job. Okay, she stuck her oar in a little bit, but, you know, I think it was in jest. I don't think there's any reason to be nasty to her whatsoever. So we go from her, who is a person who tickled the bear's nose, to Mr. Druckmann, who is a person that kicked the bears in the balls, and then stood there laughing at it instead of running the hell away. Now, he's come out and he said, yes, I know it was a divisive game, it's going to create a lot of negative opinion and all of this. And for some reason, he's stunned that he's getting negative feedback on Twitter. I mean, Twitter is a complete cesspool, and I don't think anyone should be on Twitter anyway, because, my God, it's just a horrible place to be. It's just full of negativity and arguing for ridiculous causes. So that's my opinion of Twitter. Now, he should have known better, really. I mean, you do have the case where, I don't want to say he deserves death threats and stuff like that, but he deserves some stick, I would say. I mean, he doesn't deserve to be like have his family threatened or anything like that, or any of the vile tweets that he's been getting. So, but to be like at least stunned by it, it's kind of like, man, what did you think was going to happen? Ugh. And the last piece of news we have for Naughty Dog is a more recent one, where Metacritic is actually changing the way that you're allowed to review games. I mean, they haven't directly attributed it to The Last of Us 2, but it's pretty bloody obvious. So what they're doing now is they will not allow you to review a game on day of release. A little message comes up and it says, please go and play the game and, formulate your opinion and come back tomorrow and leave your review. Now, I think this is a waste of time, really, because the people that were going to go in and review bomb it, they'll just wait that day, come back and review bomb it. You will have people that don't buy the game, don't play the game, but will still review it as a 0 just to drag it down because they don't like the leaks. I don't personally agree with that. I think Metacritic is a useful tool for people that actually want to go and look to buy games. So artificially sort of bringing scores down or bulking them up, which has also happened, I don't think it's fair, and that's why I don't agree with the Access Media's reviews either, because I think they're far too high. I mean, to get the amount of 10s, 10s should be like a rarity, even for a good game. Even for like an outstanding game, you should like get mostly 9s and then there'd be maybe the odd 10. But to have that many 10s, it's suspicious. It's made more suspicious when Sony starts ringing reviewers and asking them to justify their reviews, which has happened. I forget the name of the outlet that they called, but they did actually telephone a reviewer and ask him why he gave it, I think it was like a 7. 7's not bad. 7's a decent score. What are you talking about? And he had to justify his point of view. Now, I will make it clear that it wasn't a threatening phone call or anything like that, but the fact that they're doing it is kind of concerning. I mean, ringing critics and ask them to justify their criticism. I mean, read their review. It should be in the review, or he's a terrible critic anyway. So this just keeps rolling. I mean, I think this is probably the biggest debacle over a game I've ever seen. I mean, there's been a few. Definitely. And you're like, oh, wow, this thing keeps rolling and rolling. It's like Fallout 76, which is now free on Game Pass, so I wasted that money. Yay. But, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it to this level. And I don't know, it's just weird. Apparently it was the most downloaded title on the PlayStation Store, but it's release month and it's a PlayStation exclusive, so it's not really that shocking to me. It was always going to do that. It'd be more interesting to see the drop off, because apparently the drop off in sales is something like 80%, so from the first week. So yeah, that's quite significant. I mean, we see drop offs before, but they're usually around 60 to 50%. 80% is a bit high. So I guess that's indicative of the split opinion on the game. Right, moving on to my second point, because wow, Naughty Dog it's everywhere. And this has come from a tech discussion I had with my friend Bungle, who has been mentioned before on the podcast. And he is on Linux now. And I said to him, look at Star Wars Squadrons, mate, that's going to be awesome, It's going to have VR support and you have your hands-on throttle and stick controller, and it'll be a bloody X-Wing in the cockpit. It's like what I wanted since I was 5, as you all know. And he says, yeah, that sounds good. Oh, I'm running Linux. It doesn't support Oculus. Oh, why are you running Linux, I said. For work, he said. So I'm like, well, why didn't you dual boot? That makes more sense to me. If you need that for work, that's fine, but you want to play your games, you have a Windows system. And he's not. He's like, oh, I'm going to build another PC and have Windows on that. So I'm like, okay, whatever, but okay. Doesn't make any sense to me, but he does have his own way of thinking that it doesn't bear any resemblance to a regular person's way of thinking. So there's that. Anyway, so we've been discoursing today, and he's of the opinion that everybody should switch to Linux. Everybody. Because it's better. And I disagree. I think it's better in some circumstances. Personally, I think it's good for servers, it's good for low power applications where you want an OS that's not going to hit it like a ton of bricks, which Windows obviously does. So stuff like that. But he's advocating it for use for gaming, and I can't get behind that. I mean, yes, you can run a lot of the same games on Linux as you can on Windows. There are the outliers that you can't. There are some tricks you can get away with that, whether it's through apps like, I think it's Litres, is that it? I think it's Litres, which sets it up, and some people have good results, some people have less good results. Or you could run virtual machine on your Linux system that runs Windows, and then have that use the graphics card to power your games, which apparently is quite complicated to set up. And at the end of the day, if you're running Windows on a virtual machine on Linux, then why not run a Windows machine? That's my opinion. Of course, you could always... I mean, you can run Linux off a bloody thumb drive. You don't even need to dual boot it, really. So I'm just staggered at that suggestion. He's like, well, more people should come over, and then we'll get the support it needs. But, I mean, I think the user is like 2.06% of desktop users use Linux, as opposed to like 79% on Windows, I think it is. So, I mean... people aren't going to move until it's demonstrably better over on the Linux side, and it's not at the moment. I mean, it's a system that is quite different from Windows, not in the just way you interact with it, but the way it operates underneath the hood as well. So, I mean, and there's so much variety. I mean, I wouldn't know what release to get. I mean, this one's got a GUI, this one's a command line, this one... What? It's so confusing to me. And all the years I've spent using Windows machines, I know sort of how to do shortcuts and how to do this and how to do that. I would have to relearn all of that. And it doesn't run some of my games. And it doesn't run VR. Then does it have support for RTX or DLSS? Don't know. Probably not. Or it's got a really clunky workaround version, which is what I seem to see a lot. Like, you watch a video involving Linux online as tech tips, they seem to have to spend a lot of time doing really lengthy, clunky workarounds. Now, I don't have a particular amount of experience with Linux. I mean, the one thing I did was install it on a Raspberry Pi. And I had a step-by-step guide on how to do that. And even then, I was kind of like, ugh, I really hope I don't have to touch this again. Because I am a Windows user, and it's completely counterintuitive to me, and just seems weird to use. But my argument was,
what is it this time?
You're not going to get change until there's a reason to. If you're running Windows 10, everything you want to run runs, then you have no real reason to even look at Linux. You're just like, oh, it's that beardy weirdy thing that people do. I know I've grown a beard now, so yeah, sure. So I don't understand. I mean, guys, change your mind. There you go. There's a challenge. I'll be like Stephen Crowder. Change my mind in the comments down below. Let me know why I, as a Windows user who games and uses VR heavily, should change to Linux. I'm almost certain you won't be able to manage it, but I'll give you a fair shot. And finally, the third subject. This is the one I actually was going to do a video on until like news and texts happened. And this is Sleeping Dogs. Now, I've recently started replaying Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition on PC. And every time I play this game again, I'm always like, how is it still so good? I mean, a lot of games you come back to, I mean, it's 8 years old now, the original. We did have a re-release of it. I think that's a few years old now. I think that's about 4 years old, maybe. And that was Definitive Edition, so it cleaned up a bit. It tweaked a few things based on community feedback, and you've got all the DLC in there as well. I think I've got that for free as well, because I own the original. So I love Steam when it does that. That's great. It saves me money. But yes, it's a fantastic game. Every time. It doesn't seem to age. I mean, I go back and I play games like we've seen recently. Like I played Claymore Honor Guard, and I still enjoy it, but it aged horribly. Not just graphically, but control-wise as well. And you're just like, okay. And then I come to this one, which is admittedly nowhere near as old, but it still plays really well. So what it was is, it was originally called Black Lotus. It was in development, and then Activision were like, that looks like a lot like True Crime. Why don't we co-brand that and we'll give you some money to make it? And they were like, I think it's United Front of the developers. And they were like, yeah, let's do that. And then Activision, being Activision, pulled their money and their backing from it. So Square Enix picked it up and it became Sleeping Dogs. You know, it's still very much like a true crime game. But obviously they had to rebrand it and remove it from that series, even though it is kind of a spiritual successor. And it's so good. The developers actually went to Hong Kong for 7 days, took 20,000 photos in order to translate the city into the game, and it's done remarkably well. If you look at some of the photos they took and the screenshots from the game, outside of graphical limitations of the time, it looks bloody good. It's also one of my favourite open world games. I would play this in preference to GTA 5 any day. I mean, it has a lot of the tropes. I mean, I almost want to compare it to like a cross between GTA and Yakuza maybe. I mean, obviously I know that Chinese people and Japanese people are different, but it still has like the bars you go in, you can do karaoke in the bars, stuff like that. So it has all of like the side bits from Yakuza, probably not to the same extent as Yakuza. And then you've got the open world stuff, so you can buy cars, you buy outfits, you get legendary outfits which can actually change the way you fight. And the fighting is such a huge part of this game. It really doesn't like you using firearms very much. And I suspect that's because it's not set in the States where it's a prolific illegal firearm problem, but it's set in Hong Kong instead, which was, you know, it was governed by the British for a long time, and us British have fairly stringent firearm laws. I mean, it's very difficult to get a firearm over here. I think if you're a farmer, you might be able to get a shotgun, but if you want to be a private gun owner, you can't have the gun in your house, you have to leave it at the club, and there's so many rules and regulations situated around that. So I think that's part of the reason why they discouraged the gunplay, because there weren't as many guns in Hong Kong. Now, that's just my impression. I have no data to back that up, so I could be completely wrong. But the gunplay itself, it's not great. It's serviceable. You have a sort of a cover button which you go into, and then you hold down the left trigger to aim and the right trigger to shoot. The aiming reticle is huge, so it's really hard to like get pinpoint shots. You'll just spam like an entire magazine worth, and like the last one will be a headshot and you'll fall over.
That's an interesting proposition.
It's not good, but the hand-to-hand combat is magnificent in this game. It really is. It is very Arkham-esque, but it's Arkham-esque if you were playing an old Hong Kong action movie as a game. So he has like kung fu forms and stuff like that thrown into the combat rather than just the sort of efficientness of Batman. There's a bit more artistry and I want to say beauty, but you're bashing someone's face into it. But you get what I mean. You can appreciate the skill and the technique. And then you get costumes, which, I mean, you get a Drunken Master costume where you can enter Drunken Master mode and do all the moves that you used to see Jackie Chan do and stuff like that. Excellent stuff. The fighting's really satisfying as well. I mean, you'll go through, there's Fight Club activities which you go through and you just fight. Like in an arena, there'll just be waves of guys coming at you, like the Arkham stuff as well. But it just doesn't get old. Yeah, fun might hurt after all the hammering on the strike button you've been doing, but definitely doesn't get old. Really fun, and you have to think how to take out the enemies, because you have like the regular enemies, you have like the striker enemies who are very difficult to hit unless you counter and open them up or break their guard. And then you have these big sumo looking fellas who just want to grab you and crush you to death basically. And I always take those out first because I can deal with like the hard hitting guys and the regular guys just by countering them, and that will give me space and an opportunity to fight back. Whereas sometimes you just don't get the chance because they'll run in and just grab you quick. And if you're not right on that counter button and there's no red outline or anything, he just comes in and you're like, oh shit, missed the Y, and now I've got to get out of this juicy hug I'm getting. But so I always take them out first. The story's fantastic. You play undercover officer Wei Shen, and you're undercover with this Song On Yi. I think in real life they're based on a real life gang called Sun Yi On. I think that's the way they differentiate it. But come on, guys, that seems really weak to me. But yeah, you go in there, you earn the trust, you get involved with sort of the criminal life as you try to like take down the organisation from within, as a police officer should, but you're gaining sort of loyalties as well. So it's a really sort of push me, pull you sort of approach to the game. And the fact that you're starting to like some of some of these red poles and stuff like that, and you're like, oh man, Winston, you're a boss. Oh shit, you've had a red wedding. Sorry, pal. But it's so well done. It's really hard-boiled, and it's just, I don't want to spoil too much because, I mean, it's an old game, but I'm trying to get you guys to play it if you haven't. I mean, I don't know how much Definitive Edition is on Steam, but I would imagine it's probably about 20 quid, I would imagine. There's just so much game to it. You get different safe houses. You can buy furniture for the safe houses and little secrets. Something like upgrade your mattress or have like a big stereo in there and what have you. You buy cars and the outfits, as I said. You also find money around the streets and little lock boxes that you have to beat a gang to get hold of. There's healing shrines. You get enough healing shrines, your life bar goes up. There's a lot to do in the game. There's cockfighting as well, which I'm not a fan of cockfighting, even though I like chicken. Not a fan of cockfighting though. But it's in there and it's realistic because it used to happen. So I'm not going to get on my high horse about it, because if it used to happen and the game's set where it used to happen, then it should happen. I don't get why we're trying to like avoid that nowadays. It's kind of stupid. It's just revisionist history. Just best, dear. But it's a super good game. I recommend it to everyone. It does commit one of my pet peeves, though. I will say that in my negatives about it. What I hate is when, say you're a knight in a medieval theme game. You've got your armour and you've got your sword, and you're going along and you kill a thing and it drops a sword and you're like, that sword's a better sword, I use that sword. And it's like, sorry mate, you need to be level 3 before you can use that. And I'm like, but I'm already using a sword. Yeah, but it's a different sword. You need to grind for a few hours and then you can use that sword. You're just like, oh. Yep, that's prolific in this game. You have something called face level, and there's a few activities that will get that to co-op, which is like beating up gangs, doing favours that are dotted around. Some are actually quite funny. There's like insurance fraud, like there's a family that's broke, so they want you to drive their car into the sea and stuff like that. And they're quite fun, and that will raise your face level, but it's on everything. You can't buy certain cars if you're not high enough face level. You can't buy certain outfits unless you're high enough face level. I see why they've done it, because they don't want you to unlock a boss outfit and a boss car right at the start of the game and be like, yeah, this is a little boring to me now. So I get that, but really they should gate it by the monetary cost. It's much more sensible to me to say, oh, I can't afford that car, than it is to say, well, I can afford the car, I'm just not good enough at driving cars yet, apparently. I need to do some rusty a favour, and then I'll get better at doing the car bit. And, I mean, it doesn't make sense. But it's in the game, so... And that is probably one of my only downsides about it, other than the gunplay, and I understand why they do the gunplay as well, because obviously they want to push the fantastic melee combat as much as they can, and it is fantastic. I really want to nitpick about that as well, actually. And that is, you have certain moves where you can disarm people, so you like throw someone over your shoulder, and if they've got a knife, you'll take the knife. I hate using weapons in this game, because normally your counter, you'll block a punch or whatever, like knee him in the gut or throw him over or punch him in the face, and it will open him up and then you can continue hitting him. With the knife or the cleaver or a crowbar or any melee weapon, you don't counter, you sway. So when you're countering normally, you'll just counter once because you'll hit them. You don't need to worry about them throwing something else at you. Whereas swaying, you'll sway back. If he's doing a combo, you need to sway multiple times. And that is so goddamn aggravating, especially when you don't realise you've got a knife because he's done it as part of a counter. And then you're like, oh, I've swayed back. Oh shit, now he's hitting in the face. I don't think I've come across an instance any more frustrating of this than in sort of a side quest, which is called Death by 1,000 Cuts. And you need to take out like 30 bad guys, and they're all armed with poison knives. So every time you get a little slice, your life meter starts to drop of its own accord. And for each additional slice, it goes down faster. And you can fill up your face meter, which, while that's active, will heal you. But you get to the point where you're just draining life too fast, outside of the damage of being stabbed anyway. And of course, they've all got knives. You start with a golden cleaver, which is basically a weapon that won't break, because weapons break in this game. But you're still not able to counter, you're still just swinging. So I drop that. And then I'm fighting him, and I'm doing alright. And then I go to counter it, and I've got a bloody knife in my hand. And now I'm poisoned. Now I'm losing my life. So I drop the knife. I have to run away, because they're all trying to attack me. I drop the knife. And I go back, fight him again. I got bloody another knife. Yes, it's very annoying, but I managed it in the end. Oh, it did take me about 6 goes, though. And I tried once with, like, the cleaver, and I was just like, this ain't happening. Because I needed to be able to, like, accurately counter, like, 5 times as much as I would normally, so no thank you, I'll stick with my fists. And I beat the smeg out of all of them eventually, so yay. Anyway guys, I think I'll draw it to an end here, and go check out Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. It's superb. It's still, like,
You're done.
I don't know if it's particularly well optimized, personally, because, like, yeah, with everything on, I'm still not seeing great results, to be honest. It's over 60, so that's what I'm worried about. But I think it may be more CPU centric in how it handles the processing of it. So even though I've got a 28 Super in there, I've also got a 6700K, which is a good CPU, but it's good when it's supporting the graphics card, not when it's doing the bulk of the work. Some games I see some mixed performance. I think this is probably one of them. Most games, absolutely fine. I mean, I bought a 144Hz monitor and I'm making use of it, so yeah, well done me. Anyway guys, so let me know what you thought about Sleeping Dogs, whether it's Definitive Edition or the original. Let me know why I should change to Linux, because I thoroughly won the argument I had with him and I'm thirsty for more. And also, yes, well, I don't really hear anything about Naughty Dog because, Jesus Christ, it's in the news every day. So, but if you have an opinion, feel free to put it down below. I will not, ever, not encourage free speech. So enjoy that. I gift to you. Anyway guys, if you like what you've heard today, please remember to subscribe down below. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you're a bit annoyed at my stupid voice, which is possible. And also, if you do happen to subscribe, please ring the bell, because that way you'll get notifications come through if YouTube does a whoopsie, which YouTube usually intentionally whoopsies, but whatever. And we'll move on with our lives. Anyway guys, speak to you next time.